Okay, so now let's go on to Salama.
Hi.
Hi. Tell me about your site, your lab first.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm from Fab Lab UAE, exactly from Dubai. My name is Salama Abdallah Timimi. I'm 23 years old, and
Okay,
I'm electronics engineer.
good.
This is my first time. I didn't know about Fab Lab before I joined the Fab Academy, so I'm very excited to be in this course.
Good. And the audio and video quality from your lab is very good. Um,
Okay.
let's see. Oh, this is interesting. You have a bar graph on your skills. It's like a meter on yourself as you progress.
Yeah, I
Uh,
found this template in a website from
huh,
W3 School, and I modify it.
interesting. That's nice. I like the idea of self-assessing with a meter that shows your progress. Huh.
Okay, thank you.
Um, okay, what is your final project? Do you have a page on your project yet?
Yeah, and the principle. Can you just
Okay.
scroll it? Yeah,
Yeah.
principle.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. My idea is to create a system that work with the fire alarm that guides the people to the exit by LED. The idea is not new. I found it in the online magazine in
Okay.
2004, and I like the idea, and I would like to be this project to be my final project.
Okay.
This idea.
The one thing I would note is I would split this into two projects and you should pick one or the other. Okay. So
Okay.
one project is detecting when there's a fire. And that's actually subtle because if you just try to measure smoke or temperature, it's very easy to get false alarms. And so you actually need a few different sensors integrated to make a reliable fire detector. So that's one project. And then another project is to have a network of displays that respond to the alarm. And so one version of the project would be network exit alarms, and you send in a message, but you don't worry about the smoke detection. A different project would be the fire detection. And something I said before is it's fine to collaborate on final projects if you can separate the system. So this would be a good project for two people, one to make the thing that detects the fire and one that lets people know it's happening. But that's really two different projects.
Okay.
Okay. So let's talk through your experience with design tools.
Yeah, I used before for the 2D software, the Photoshop and the Illustrator, but the
Okay.
GIMP and the Inkscape was new for me. I didn't try the Inkscape yet, but I tried the GIMP.
Okay.
Yeah, I put my review and I found I like some review in the internet when I search about the software, and I put the links in my website. And for the 3D software, I
Hold on.
used before.
Just for your page, there isn't enough here. You need to say a little more about, you know, what you did with the software, what problems you had, what you learned, what you think about it. There isn't quite enough material here. It should be a log of your experience with the software. So you need to say a little bit more.
Okay.
Okay. So for 3D,
Yeah, for the 3D, I used before the Blender. SolidWorks, I tried to use it, but yeah, I tried to do some modulation in it. I didn't like it, but
okay, hold on.
on
Wait,
Shape,
wait, wait. Go slower. So um, once you get to 3D design, really none of these can you just start using it and figure it out. I don't know any 3D design program that you can use with absolutely no education. That's a good challenge for Jan's group for the future. But uh, again, uh, for the things you said, it's not quite right. So Blender is good for 3D graphics, but this is a powerful extension to Blender. This is a so Rhino has Grasshopper. This is a Russian group that Sverchok is Grasshopper in Russian, and this is a node editor for Rhino, and this lets you do parametric design and CAD and Blender when you add this to it. Now on SolidWorks, this description isn't a good reaction in that SolidWorks is really, really powerful, but it won't make any sense if you just look at the screen and figure out what all those icons mean. If you look at SolidWorks, just at the UI, you won't just be able to look at the screen and figure out what to do. But what SolidWorks is really good at is complexity. You can design something like that. But you need, it has its own instructional material. There's lots of tutorials. It's not a fair judgment to say I didn't like the icons. These programs, you need to work through tutorials to look behind it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So go ahead. So you like Onshape?
I use Onshape. I start with it without a tutorial. It was easy for me to understand each tool, what does it do. That's why I finally built a small house, a 3D house. It was easy to use it. I understand at least the tools, how does it work without tutorials.
Okay, good. So Onshape was founded by John Herstack, who originally wrote SolidWorks. And sort of you can think of Onshape as being like SolidWorks in the cloud. But one of the things they've really focused on is collaborative design. So when you use Onshape, you can have multiple people working on the same design and branching multiple versions of the design, very much like Git. So if you think about how you've learned to use Git, one of the things Onshape is focused on is merging and branching and all of those things like we do with Git, but in the design tool. So it has interesting collaboration features. And again, one of the tools coming that wasn't quite ready for this week is XDesign, which is the back end of CATIA, but the front end here. But good. Okay. And then animation.
Yeah, and for the animation, I already used before the After Effects. I did some small animation for the college and the school. And the Premiere, I used it before. I thought it's similar to After Effects, but After Effects have more tools, and you can have an option in After Effects more than the Premiere. And Unity, I didn't start to use it till now.
Yeah, Unity is literally a whole world to move into. But I would separate, you're really describing video editing. Animation, I would distinguish. So Blender is really good at Blender is really good at animation. Among other things, every year they do a Blender movie made in Blender. And so, this is a movie made in Blender to do animation, but it means Blender has really good tools if you want to make a movie of your final project. If you want to show like there's a fire and the lights are coming on and people are running, Blender is a really good tool for that. For video editing, most of my computing is in Linux, and the tool I really, if we go back to the, if you go back to the design schedule, Kdenlive is a really impressive open source nonlinear video editor. And so, oh, I don't